The October 17th meeting of the City of Cocoa Beach Land Management Committee to order. And Kelsey, if you would kindly call the roll, please.
Mr. Day.
Present.
Ms. Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Davis is not here tonight. Ms. Cruz.
Here.
And Ms. Regan.
Here.
Okay, one thing for the the September minutes. I found a couple things, nothing major, believe me. And in the credits under new business, the South Thousand Islands, you didn't mention the city as one of the groups that was mentioned. So okay.
Okay.
And
no big deal.
One N.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's not like Finnegan. It's Fin, right?
Okay.
What's that?
Fin Expeditions, F-I-N, right?
Yeah, it's one.
Okay.
And under old business, the one thing we did mention the EELS program in a public workshop, but we also talked about a survey as we had done before. So,
Oh, you're right.
and it was a survey that we had done previously, looking at uses of the North Thousand Islands.
It was a Survey Monkey, right? Was it Survey Monkey?
Yeah, I think it was Survey Monkey that was used. Those are the two things that I saw. I think other than that, I'm fine with it. With the edits, do you have a motion?
Motion. Okay.
Move,
Or second.
Move second,
Yeah.
whatever.
Whichever.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, good. Let's see, staff report. Kelsey.
All right. 1 second, sorry. Just a couple of things. The Maritime Hammock vegetation harvesting is complete.
Yep.
We removed over 82,000 pounds of vegetation, which is a lot.
82,000?
Much more than we expected.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that equates to 142 pounds of total nitrogen that has been prevented from entering the Indian River Lagoon.
How much again, sorry?
142?
142 pounds.
Yes, which is about double what the soil plant expected us to remove. So we are applying for some contingency funds to hopefully receive more funding for that project
Okay.
before we get
And how much
reimbursed.
phosphorus did you do that, or it's still nitrogen based, so it didn't work?
They pay per pound of nitrogen,
Okay.
so I can
That's
figure out
fine.
the phosphorus, but I
I
didn't
was just
calculate
wondering.
it.
Yep, that's good.
And then I think I mentioned to you guys that we were having a sea turtle lighting survey done.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's completed. I'm still working my way through that report. It's quite long, as you could imagine. So I'll send that to you guys when we have something kind of put together, like a little summary. But there were 94 areas of violations, and what that means is they counted more like permanent or semi-permanent things. So like external lights, like floodlights or giant signs, you know, those types of things, not like someone's kitchen light in their condo, because they typically see that goes off after about midnight. So there were 94 of those, so we're working through those to tease out where the lights belong. And I'll update you guys hopefully at the next meeting on what we're gonna do about all of
Okay,
those
they
lights.
counted porch lights and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, basically there were some porch lights, all of like the external lights, not really, unless it was outstandingly bright, nothing from like the inside of someone's house. So as you can imagine, there's a lot more going on out there.
And I was thinking about that as an appendice. What do you think as an appendice? Is it a report in a form that would be useful as a?
Possibly, it's a giant table
Okay.
with photographs.
Is there,
Okay.
is there a summary, an executive summary or something?
That's what I'm hoping to type.
Okay.
Is something like that.
Yeah, the summary might be a little bit more useful than,
Yeah, well, when we get it, we can see if it's something the public could easily get, kind of
And-
hands around, but.
and again, put the summary online and have a,
Mm-hmm.
so if somebody really wants to dive into it, they could get all the details.
Okay.
And that's all I have for you guys.
Okay, anything else, Kelsey?
That's it.
All right. New business, I don't see any right off the top of my head, right here on the agenda. And next one is Maritime Hammock Preserve, talking about the Workday. We're talking, November 4th, if I remember correctly?
Mm-hmm.
And, okay. It's
So I
big.
think we just have to figure out the time. No, November 4th, was it?
It's the Saturday, the 5th. It's the 5th.
I think we said 8:30 or 9?
9?
9?
8:30, okay.
9 to 11.
Okay.
Or 11, okay.
Basically, what we're talking about is a cleanup to start with, pick up whatever trash and crud that's floating around. I'll bring my shovel and play with it. There's some guinea grass that's around.
Now, do we have to notice it at the meetings since we all met either? Did we
I'll
do
put
that?
it out as a public announcement, as like a
Okay.
Workday,
Okay.
yeah.
Because it's not gonna be like a meeting or a fact finding, but I don't know what the hard rules on that are, but.
I think if you're discussing officials committee business, but I
Mhm.
think cleaning up trash in a
Yeah.
conservation area is fine.
And looking around to seeing what's there and what isn't there. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that's a big deal. And it's gonna be publicly noticed anyway. There'll be something
Okay.
Yes.
on the city website or CBNN.
So
So-
something else that I wanted to bring up is if the committee would like to do any like native plantings, I would need to know so that I can make sure we get those before the workday.
Okay. What are we looking for a plant mix here on?
This is probably end of planning, you know,
Mhm.
but it's still an opportunity because it's still raining kinda. So if we were going to, do we need to go around the pond or anything like that?
So around the pond could use some stuff.
Yeah.
The contractor replanted some spartina where they had to, it was disturbed,
Mm-hmm.
but could possibly do some other things. I don't know
Right,
if there's.
right.
any
We had
shoreline
some
plants.
pickerel weed and some other stuff in there that did not
Yeah, well,
thrive all that well.
unfortunately, we had that one alum, and then it got burnt. The pond was fine after the immediate, like, took a week, but the pickerel weed and the duck potato died, and we put it back once, but it didn't take well because I think the cattails were so aggressive. So, yeah, I mean, if we could get that, we used to get it from Beeman's. They're the same guys
Duck
who make the
potato.
peanuts.
Mhm.
Because they do it on, and we would get a wholesale pricing, and they have it just wet legs, mostly.
Mhm.
And also another plant that would probably do real well is, that spider lily that we have in those, rain boxes on,
Mhm.
that does pretty well too.
Around the pond.
Mhm. And they are all cheap wet legs, in small amounts, and if you put it down far enough, I think it'd do fine.
Yeah, it would be good to get some color in there, and that would help.
Yeah,
So.
and they also, the native canna is really nice too, it's yellow.
Yeah, but spider lily on Minute Man is pretty tough. It's survived a lot.
And then we also put mully back in the day, just here and there around the pond. And I think there's in fact hatching also, Johnny hatching.
Well, that's what I didn't bring it up.
The large.
The lights did not go out for the hurricane for me, so it was surprising.
Okay. I can check and
And
see.
then on the vendors,
Where's that located?
it's on 46, yeah. On the
If you
west
can
side.
get there.
Huh?
If you can get there on 46.
Oh, yeah, right. But yeah, and it is out west too. Is it 46 or 44? Maybe it's 44. Maybe it's
What
44.
nursery?
Which nursery?
Anyway, Beeman's. Steve
Demons? Yeah, I think they're on 44.
44, okay. Still might be fine.
Okay.
But, yeah, so if you can get some by that
Okay,
time.
I can
but
see what I
it's-
can
it's
get.
short, no, it's not too far from that.
And then, so that's like around the pond. Do you guys wanna do any like understory plantings? If I can't get these aquatic plants, I know I can get the understory plants, probably.
If you
That'd be
wanna
easier.
get some, we can do it.
Yeah.
I'd say put coffee and
Mhm.
fiddlewood's always nice. It's not a fire bush. That takes a while to,
Mhm.
it usually doesn't die, but it takes a while to start growing again. But fiddlewood, I think is pretty good. Stockbrewers, others kind of.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think we can always put more in.
All right, I'll just see what I can find, and I'll
Yeah.
bring them.
Okay.
The one thing that we might think about, to see if we can get under control a little bit, is the Hercules Club, because that seems to be getting pretty rampant
That's
in there.
terrible in that corner by Denny's.
So we
They're
might.
coming up. Did you check that?
I try to stay away from it, but that's pretty rough stuff. I know there was some around the play area, and I think we got rid of that pretty much. But
We had
But
that
I
one
didn't-
that put out all those babies.
I
again,
didn't realize it spread like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't
it-
know.
it's spread a lot from where it
I
started.
had one in my yard and I got rid of it, but then I got a wild vine.
Yeah. Okay.
But I keep that trimmed like a hedge,
Okay.
but I got to giant
That's one thing we might
swallowtail.
look at,
Yeah,
doing
sure.
something about while we're there on the fourth, so,
Okay.
any case. Anything else on that? Anything else you need, Kelsey, for
But
guidance?
now, with the Hercules Club, that must be the berries that the birds eat and spread it?
I don't
It's a
know.
good native, but it
I
takes
think
over.
that's, I know that's the way the,
And it's an impaling tree, so
Yeah.
hawks will take an animal and
Yeah,
stick it on it.
yeah,
And
but,
you can
but
bite it.
again, having it on along a trail or in a public area
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
probably not the best thing we wanna do.
oh, it's wicked.
Any case, anything else on that? Anything else you want on, you need, Kelsey?
No, that's good.
Okay, good. South Thousand Islands, I see you had some conversation with mosquito control about our our tire city.
Yeah.
I saw those
That was
pictures.
awful.
I forwarded you guys the email. That's the only person I could really think of to reach out to that might have an idea of what's going on with these tires. They said, they remove them if they are doing a major project, but other than that, it leads to like erosion when they remove them. But keep in mind that those are big impoundments, and the erosion control is
Yeah.
definitely there for a reason.
Yeah, I know.
I asked him if he had any idea about like leaching of chemicals from the tires, and he's not familiar with that. So.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say, I'm not so much concerned about the ones on the berm, but there are a lot of them that are scattered out in the open water,
water.
well away from the
Oh, did they
shoreline.
wash out? Is that
No,
what
I
happened?
think there have been some folks out there that have messed
Had
with them,
fun?
so, yeah.
Oh.
That would be my concern. Again, there are areas that could perhaps be vegetated with seagrass or other things that probably would be a good idea to, yeah, and again, it's not a crisis, but when somebody has some time and some money and a bunch of folks that don't mind getting wet and dirty,
Yeah.
that would be an excellent project to get rid of some of those. Again, most of them, from what I saw the time I went out there in the photos I forwarded to you, were on the west side of that impoundment. Right, Open Banana River is right there. There's another spot across from the golf course and back east a little bit where there were a bunch of tires in there, but again, that shoreline has grown up pretty well. Whatever's there is pretty much gonna stay there. But the water was not clear enough to see if there were other tires that were offshore. So, again, it's worth another look. Again, it's not a crisis situation, but see what's there and maybe another time.
You know what might be interesting if we could get some testing done, just like on still, when we've had like no rain and still wind conditions for days, just to see if anything comes up.
Yeah.
It made me think this MRC is doing that.
Yeah.
They're going to be testing. They're trying to get a grant, legislative discretionary grant, I think, for taking samples for emerging contaminant type of pollution, not for your typical ones, and that would be kind of interesting, because that is I mean, at least we kind of have a little bit of a feel whether it's
Yeah.
serious or.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen some stuff years ago on
I
what.
just looked it up and they said, yes, they do leach out.
Yeah.
I
But
mentioned-
again, most of those have been there for 50 years.
Yeah.
And whatever's leaching is probably pretty much done.
Mhm.
There certainly is probably some still getting off there, but again, it's,
But we might want to, if they get that money, we might want to just see
Right.
if they would be willing to grab one sample, that
Yeah.
just
and one thing I was thinking about, that might be a Sorrel project for small money from Sorrel. It would probably be
you
less
mean to
than,
get them removed?
yeah, it would
Yeah,
probably be.
sorrel, they pay per pound
Nitrogen.
of total nitrogen, so I don't know if we could quantify if we're removing.
Probably not for that,
nitrogen.
again, this is more an aesthetic and a habitat thing than
Mhm.
a water quality thing, probably.
Mm.
But any case, it, as I've said twice before, it's not a crisis, and it's more an aesthetic thing than anything else, so. Let's see what happens. Keep it in the back of your mind, and if there's something or other we can do in the future, piggyback on some other project that's gonna be done out there, that might be one way to
Fine project or
attack it.
something. I don't know if Fine would be interested at all, probably not. It's not
Yeah,
navigable.
it's not a navigation problem.
Uh-huh.
Again, KBB, I know. something like that, any case. But that's again, what I have on that, so. Again, kind of keep that in the back of your mind. If there is something or other, another project we can piggyback on, that might be a way to deal with this, but.
Okay.
Okay? All right. I guess we're down to Beach and Dune.
Okay, well, let's see.
The one comment I had,
Uh-huh.
Joni, on page 11 of the PDF, you had a photo that said it was oyster catchers.
Wait, hold on a second. Page 11.
Yeah, in the
Photo.
PDF. Yep.
Oyster.
You said it was oyster catchers, and they look a whole lot more like
Oh.
skimmers.
Oh, okay.
But any case,
Let me look at that.
and on
I'm not
page.
sure if it said that in the paper or if I just interpreted it wrong.
Yeah. Well, the caption on the photo said it was
Yep, I
skimmers
know
for
what you're
wherever
talking
it came. I mean, it said it was oyster catchers. Page 31, it was talking. I believe that's where it was talking about monitoring at the pier, and you mentioned, I believe, Department of Health, but as we know, Surfrider also does some monitoring there, so that might be.
So add Surfrider to
Yeah.
monitoring at the pier?
Yeah. And one thing I think we discussed this a little bit before, but this is kind of a general comment, that your series of photos and such like on the various crossovers, can we somehow marry that and the spreadsheet that Holly did, which has a fair amount of information to
Well, I
put the two
think-
together?
Okay, so I think that we talked about that. I was gonna go through, so we can talk about that when we're talking about what we still need maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah, we may have discussed that before.
Okay.
You're probably correct.
and then what else? No, because I'm gonna discuss that.
That's it.
Okay, all right.
Other than that, I'm happy with what you did, so.
Well, what I think I should do is, okay, what I've done is I mailed it out to, I mailed it out to Margie, to Paula, to Blair,
Mhm.
to Mike at the county, and then.
Mike McGarry, yeah.
Then there is a guy who I worked with at the Archie Car, Friends of the Archie Car, for the turtle
Yep.
nesting and hatchings, and he said, yeah, I'll take a look at it, so I figured the more eyes on it, the better at this point. So I just sent that out, so staff is reviewing it, and they are reviewing it. I figure I'll send out, I'm not gonna do anything to it until I get that back, but I'll send out one more, for you guys, so you can just look at it. And any photos, that you think should go in. I did go through, I kind of looked at all the, emails that you had sent, and there's like 2 emails that say photos, and there's no photos, at least I can't see them.
Okay.
And then I have the one on the, I guess, beach rake, and I could put that in, or some weird thing. Who is it?
Oh, you talked about Bebop,
Yeah. What is that?
KBB.
Oh, okay.
KBB has
I
got
have
that.
photos of that.
Okay, no, you sent me one,
Yeah.
so maybe I could put
And that came, if
photo.
I'm not mistaken, came off of KBB's website, so.
What is it, Beepbot?
BEBOT, it's like a beach robot.
Okay,
Bebop.
okay, photo, I'll throw that in there before I send it out. And any other thing as you're going through, and again, maybe not so much for the PDF plan, but I think we should, and that's gonna have to be ADA compatible too, so there's all that. But I think we should have like something more friendly online that's more like a website, and
Yes.
we could even put more stuff in that.
Yeah, I do apologize. It's
No,
in the
that's fine.
works. The turtle map has taken priority.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally, believe me, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, believe me, I know.
we'll get there.
Oh, yeah. And one thing too, that the DEP site that Kelsey sent out with the DEP's Beaches and Shores
That was
version of
good.
what our access points are. I don't know if we
Oh,
just want
right,
to have a
right,
link
I
for
did too,
that
yeah.
on the, link for that in the report as well.
Yeah, do you remember sending that?
Yes.
When I found that, I was like, wow, well, this will save me a lot of time.
Yeah, that was
This
a
is
nice
great.
resource.
But there was something I had with it that I thought it was, maybe it was that they seemed to be off or something.
Oh,
Like they seemed to be, that, what do you call it, the rubber banding wasn't, rubber sheeting or something. I remember something that wasn't quite right, but I'd have to look at it.
On that DEP site?
I'll look
Yeah.
at it again.
Because they obviously didn't have all the stuff that, it said there's parking, there's an access, and I think that was pretty much what was the information that was there.
Right.
And obviously the stuff that you and Holly have done has got a whole lot more information, so.
Okay, so that's the main plan. I'll send that
But
out
again-
again.
But again, put it in one of the sites that the people could visit to look at whatever.
Okay, so what I was gonna do was go over, okay, so the appendices that are actually in the plan, in the table of contents that we don't have yet is the endemic and rare features. And so I've started with a little bit, but if you guys could throw me anything. Oh, and the other thing I was gonna ask is, what I'll do is I'll send out an email for each of those things specifically, and then just reply to that email, because I'm having a hard time going back and finding stuff now.
Yeah.
Because I wind up reading like the same thread, the same email like a million times, and it's not in that one, and then I have to go to another one. So if we could just keep, like, for each appendice, I'll shoot it out. I'll shoot out the plan separate. I'll shoot each appendice, and then if you could give me feedback on that, I can just go to that one email and find it.
I can be sympathetic on that,
So it
from
was
what I
just
did on the
starting to
North
get like a
Thousand
little,
Isles.
it's like
so.
turned into a monster. Plus I've been having computer problems a little bit, and it's just like,
Yeah.
So there's that. Beach photos folder. So, and I hate to keep putting stuff on you, but if we could have a Google Doc folders that we can throw things
The
on.
photos? We already have that.
No, that's for the inventory, but just for photos in general.
Okay, we can put one in that same.
Okay, that would be great. And this way, if you send the link, you can send any photos you find to that link, and then it's all in that one thing, and we can pretty
Yeah.
much like the MRC what we
Yeah.
have there. This way, I'm not looking through emails again, because it's getting crazy.
Yeah, I know, believe me.
Yeah. And my Gmail has gotten filled up, but I can't even hardly do anything now. I'm having to pay for storage now. And then the inventory, like what you were mentioning, Bob, what Kelsey was saying, and I realize you have that priority, is that, and we can have people reviewing all this other stuff, and we can still be going on, and developing these appendices better. But Kelsey was going to get a GIS-based, geodatabase, and the photos will be kind of separate. I'll be kicking them out as like a presentation document.
Well,
Unless you can
So you can, through all the surveys that we did when we went out there, the surveys on the iPad, I just have to build the template, and when I get pictures from Holly, we still don't have those, and load those into each survey point.
Okay.
Then we can print out, like, you can generate a template that's like, put the photos here and the details below it, and we can print that out.
Okay, so that goes into your basket then, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, so so what you're talking about, Bob, it
Okay.
will happen. That'll be part of that thing.
Okay.
So then, there's 3 other appendices that I think might be good. And then one, I guess, would be the permitting section, where we would have the 2 main permits that are beach permits this way. Because it also relates back to that community conversations document, because there's a lot of talk about special events in these documents. So if we could put, I think it's a special event and vendor use agreements. I think those are the only 2 permitting type of things that are associated with beach, right?
So DEP requires a field permit for altering vegetation,
Okay, yep.
or like crossovers or whatever,
Right.
and then the city is also putting together an authorization, because our code says that you must have permission from the city manager to work in the dunes. So there will be the DEP permit and then a city authorization on top
Okay.
of those things.
Okay, so I think that would be helpful, because this way anybody could go and look and see how these things are done. Vendor registration, all that stuff. Then the other thing is the sea turtle report or summary or whatever. That would be another
The
appendix.
sea turtle lighting one.
The lighting one. I mean, eventually, again, we can build this over the next couple of months, but, and then the dark sky program, I don't know if it deserves to be its own appendice, but it's, I put it into the contact and resource list as a link, but I think it's like whether we have it as an appendice, like get some information there so people can actually,
Maybe.
it becomes more of an important part of it.
Why don't you just incorporate that into the lighting section?
So what I'm
Because
wondering.
we don't have it now. It's,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it might be in the recommendation section
right,
instead.
I think it should definitely be in the recommendation section, but if we're gonna make it as a recommendation, we sort of need to have information
Oh, yeah, well,
to give to the commission.
So maybe it's just the website,
yeah. That was what
which
I
I
was
thought.
thinking.
But and other cities that have implemented it.
So I went back and looked at
Uh-huh.
that today,
Mhm.
and I don't know where, when Holly was here, we were talking about other communities in Florida,
Mhm.
and I thought Sanibel was one.
Mm.
There was no reference to that. There is only one community that had a designation which is no longer used.
Wow.
And it was Harmony, Florida here in
Okay.
Central
Yep.
Florida.
Yep.
And it
On
was a
192, yeah.
special designation for urban design.
I got you.
Yep.
And they've discontinued that. There's only 2 dark sky places in Florida, and they are both, one is Big Cypress,
Mm.
Oh, okay. So
and
it's
the
it's
second
park.
one is Kissimmee Prairie.
It is Kissimmee? Oh, Kissimmee
Kissimmee
Prairie.
Yeah.
Yes, preserve. And
Gotcha.
those were, I went to their interactive map, and those are the only 2 places,
Okay.
which makes sense when
Yeah.
you see the map that Holly had brought. We don't have any dark areas. That doesn't mean that, I thought that was a great idea to make a recommendation, and I was just sort of playing with a narrative. And I pulled a lot of stuff from their website because it's really just following some of their best practices. So we could
Mhm.
say, to better protect wildlife and ecosystems in our community, adopt lighting reduction strategies used by the International Dark Sky Association to benefit or reduce light pollution in communities.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
so that's all we're saying, and then we have the reference to it.
You know what I think might be good, is if in that appendice for the sort of lighting kind of thing, that we make it a little bit bigger, more robust, and was it, I think you had sent out that, it was a really good zoom, that you could see the hot spots of the lighting on a more,
I
like.
think that's what Holly said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
think having like that, so people can see that the south beaches are very dark.
Or
And
darker.
just for awareness, I mean, we're talking about awareness and everything, so maybe like
Yeah.
have that in there, exactly. And then, also the dark sky information,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, just so it's food for thought for people for the future, that we have talked about it and,
Right.
you know, and also in the recommendations. I didn't get to that yet, but,
So, I know you're
Yeah.
going fast. Can we just back up so I can mark things off my
and
list?
I want you to stay in one spot, don't.
Oh, okay.
Start
So,
too much.
back reviewing your latest draft,
Mhm.
I just had 2 things.
Okay,
Ready? Page 15, Roman numeral 5, on surf.
surf,
It references Appendix G, Space Coast Beach Endemic and Rare Features. I don't know that that fit there, or if it was cut and pasted from somewhere else.
Gotcha, okay.
It just didn't seem that the appendix fit with the subject matter.
Okay,
And
okay,
then-
and you know, there could be a cut paste thing that just.
That's what I kind of
okay.
figured, because that same thing is referenced somewhere else.
Okay,
Page 25,
all right.
Roman numeral 8, and this is just a format. You used 9 spelled out,
Okay,
when right in the rest of the section, you were
Okay.
using a digit for even
Okay.
single digits.
okay.
And then the other one was just a comment.
Uh-huh.
The photos on page 35 that showed before and after the beach here, was
Mhm.
that the same location?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That is
We should
Oh, yeah.
update that.
compelling. It showed the value in, talk about a picture's worth 1,000 words.
I
I
have
mean-
that in 2 places in the plan. One I have as part of the county thing,
Mhm.
and those are both kind of old. And then the one where it has the 2, I took that one, Kelsey and I were
No,
doing it.
because it is amazing to
Mhm.
show the success and how it works.
Right.
Well done. That's all I wanted to say
So
about it.
if you want to see the most incredible dune, go to 15th Street. I could not believe it. I mean,
Really taller than
I've been
me.
telling everybody about it because you come up, like if you've gone up other ones, access points, if you go to 15th Street, you come from the water up, you are going, it's like incredible. You can't
Yeah.
even see the ocean when you're in the trough of that dune. And
So-
it goes around, it's incredible.
There are a couple of huge ones at Lori Wilson. I was just over
Yeah.
there last
Yeah.
Friday evening just
Same
watching
thing.
the ocean and was sitting up on the bench and I noticed this huge dune. I went to another
Yeah.
area and then another dune was even bigger. I go, wow.
Yeah.
It's literally, if I was on the beach, I couldn't see Kelsey on the dune. It's like
Yes.
crazy. It's so tall.
These
you
two
know?
were like that
Okay,
too. I'll
yeah.
have to look at that.
So, I don't know if we might want to
Yeah,
just put
there-
that in the plan too,
Right.
but it's hard to see. You have to be there to actually see it.
There are actually several spots where there's been pretty good dune development.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Water where
But
where
that
the old
picture was
old
just
water was.
incredible.
And I do have some really old photos of accesses before they had any vegetation, where they just had like chain link fences that were falling down and everything. And those will be good, but I've been having problems with my Google in general.
Yeah.
So, but I think that can go in there too.
And I could not find my slides from the '84 Thanksgiving Day storm.
This is Appendix J. I'll
Okay.
just give it to you.
Okay, good.
My suggestion, I thought it was very comprehensive. I would just suggest breaking it up like that, the government agencies. You
Okay.
already have them in order
Okay.
of city, county,
Okay. Yeah,
state,
we're trying
and
to go down
federal.
smaller.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then
Okay, yeah.
nonprofit, were those all nonprofit conservation
Right.
organizations, then other private organizations, and
Okay.
then
NGOs, yeah.
publications
Yeah, no, that's
and
great.
books.
Okay, good.
Just to make it easier to
Mhm.
flip through what
Sure.
section
Right,
you're in,
right.
but,
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether I should even be numbering them. Probably not numbering them. I just thought the number.
Just a heading, yeah.
But then maybe it's
no,
not
I
as
thought
easy
they were,
numbering. Okay.
yeah, within
Okay.
each section or number them
Okay.
straight
This way to
down. Just,
reference. Okay.
yeah, because that way you can easily say, oh, it's number 17.
Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
right. And I'm really hoping I get some feedback from these folks, like, because I sent this too.
Mhm.
And because again, I mean, we all, Kelsey's the biggest expert on the beach here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with the lagoon side, so these folks are definitely beach people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we should be able to get good feedback. Okay, so that's that.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. I mean, I really need people to read it so I don't mistake and stuff like that. Okay, so I think what it leaves is the whole recommendation thing, and I tried to wrap my head around it, and between my arm and traveling, I just couldn't figure it out. But that's where we're gonna, I think what I did was I read the final report again, and there is more conclusion in there.
There
And I
was?
went through and I highlighted the parts that I thought were related to your work, Carol, and Bob, what you did. And so I'm gonna send that out highlighted, because it's just the main meat of it, of the final report.
The
not
Keystone
draft.
report?
Yes.
To me, it looked just the same.
I think
That's
it's.
what I
oh,
thought
did
too.
you?
I didn't go through it.
Right. have to
Right
look
down
again.
to the typos.
Okay.
I would withhold that
Oh, I know,
consultant's
the
final
counsel.
payment.
I was wondering if you
No,
pick up
he
it.
left the word draft in it, and it comes as
Oh,
final.
I didn't notice that. Oh, wow. Yeah, no, it
Oh, I
does
missed
say
that.
city council at one point, and there's another
Yeah.
one I found.
Yeah, and both of those were circled, and they still weren't corrected.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it again one more time. I'm sending out the highlighted one, but this way we can think about it a little bit more. I am gonna try to now make that
Don't
like
bang
a
your
main
knee.
thing. But it's gonna be the hardest part.
Yeah.
Like yours is very narrative, and I think we maybe need to make it just a little more bulleted, and then like discuss each one, because all the common themes are. Oh, this was another thing I was gonna ask. Maybe we could break down, or somebody could take responsibility for finding out we need a list of all the vendors, so that would be on your plate, to get how many actual vendors do we actually have use agreements.
On the
from.
beach?
On the beach, right. And then somebody else on the committee maybe to get all of the beach businesses from north to south, make a list. So we know how many these are, like the hotels, anybody who has a hand on the beach, because there's a lot of talk, and we've talked about it in yours, and he has it in the Keystone, about businesses taking responsibility.
Yeah.
So to get a better grasp on who they are, and then other businesses that affect the beach, like, styrofoam, like, you know, those kind of things. I mean, we're not gonna have like all the fast food restaurants and stuff, but just if we're gonna say these things, and we're gonna go to the commission on, you know, impacting them somehow with either making them take some responsibility or some funding aspect of it, just so we have a grasp of what we're asking for, you know. And then I think I had mentioned about how much money. I mean, that's going to be a hard thing to find out. But how much does it cost for us to manage the beach? Like, and that would be like Bob or Jared, I guess.
And like staff time and how much we pay like into the KBB contract.
Exactly, and not down to like drilling down to crazy detail, but just in general, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
I'm wondering, Joni, if you need to be a little bit more specific on your beach-related businesses. Now, obviously, like Ron John's is gonna be one.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
but to go across the street and you're talking
Right.
Walgreens,
Right.
they sell beach toys and
Right.
all that sort of stuff, but are they truly a
And
beach-related
again,
business?
if we're gonna make recommendations on business, I think we have to at least think about that.
Right.
Like, how do we
You know, and
touch
same
that?
thing,
How do
Publix-
we reach out?
Publix sells obviously
Right.
food and,
And Carol, you mentioned that, so if we're gonna do it, I just think we have to make it less abstract. and
or
a little bit more
either that or
tangible.
we have tiers of businesses, ones that are really strongly related, ones that are
Well,
secondary,
to me, if
ones
their
that are
primary
tertiary.
purpose, so like to me, Walgreens' primary purpose is a sundries pharmacy.
Yeah.
However, next door, if there's a beach wave, even though it sits to the west, its primary purpose is beach tourism.
Right, exactly.
I think that won't be hard.
Yeah,
Oh.
and
And I
kind of
don't
the same
even
thing
know
with
what beach
Publix.
waves have. Do they have coolers? I've
Never
never
been
been
in
in
one.
one.
I've never been in one.
They have,
Coolers or just
In
towels
beach
and
wave?
t-shirts?
oh, I haven't looked
Bathing
specifically,
suits? I don't
right.
know.
I'll have to wander in there.
Oh, imagine if
You
got
know, they
every-
do have towels, they do have,
I
you
know
know,
that.
bathing suits,
I
they do
only know
have,
what they have in
Yeah.
their window.
they do have the little foam surfboards and boogie
Okay,
boards and all
okay,
that kind of
okay,
junk,
okay.
but
All right.
I don't know about foam coolers, I cannot say that I've seen them in there. You know, blow-up toys.
I started thinking about these things as I was thinking about recommendations, and it started blowing up
Yeah.
on me, but I think that, I guess my point is that if we're gonna create a list of recommendations, and that's the most complicated thing, I think, in this whole thing, is that, and do we want it as a section, or do we want that as appendice, so that, it's more like, you know, it's as an appendice, it's what we're recommending, and it goes in there, cause it's almost then, it's like a strategic plan, like, are we getting this done, have we, you know, have we completed this portion, have we completed that portion,
Okay.
like, what is being done, so.
In other words, what you're saying, Joni, is we need to go home, and that's gonna be our, kind of our homework this time, is to come up with recommendations for where we
Well,
think
Carol's
things-
already done it, and.
Well, you know, we do
with
have
that
some
in
of them.
mind,
Yeah,
I think like, because there's so much crossover, and, you know, the narrative is a little, you know, difficult, and a lot of these are brainstorming kind of things
Yeah.
that are great, you know, and I mean,
okay.
So, as far as narrative, if you think it's narrative heavy, I do feel strongly that it shouldn't be too concise with just a
I
bullet. There
agree.
should always be like why
A
we're
little
doing it,
explanation,
to help
yes.
reduce trash left on the
right,
beach.
right.
Yeah.
But
No, I
like
agree.
to better educate, create and install user-friendly beach rule signs that are clear and concise. Period.
Mhm.
There's another 2 sentences there because I was trying to explain
Why you need to do that.
why I was
Maybe
doing
we should
that.
start with yours completely, and we all do a real hard look, maybe too, you know, because you know it from a staff point of view.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering, so the way that I've seen like different types of recommendations and like kind of like plans for what's going to happen is, I don't know if I can pull up an example, but you can put it in kind of a chart, and in the top of the
I
chart,
was thinking chart.
yeah, you have like the goal, and then you have the purpose of the goal,
Mhm.
and then
Yep.
you have some type of measurable, like,
Measurable goal.
here's the recommendation of how we're going to do it, and
Yep.
it's based on this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was kind of what I was gonna try to do, which I never did, but kind of take yours, maybe add some more, and try to make it more like a chart. I was thinking that too.
So I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Take this, if you
Okay.
want a format that you like, Kelsey.
How
It's,
about the MPDS permit kind of thing?
And-
Yeah, let me see if I can pull up an example for.
And you might
And
look at those as short-term, long-term,
Right.
and that type of thing too.
And once we have, I mean, I think this is great. And once we have something, you know, then, I mean, this is a great basis.
Mhm.
And if you want to do that as a chart,
Okay.
and the strategic plan's kind of like that too, right? A little bit? Because there's the plan, and then there's the quick Lori's been doing a quick, you know, where you can see it all in a chart-like thing.
So, I've been doing a sea turtle lighting ordinance implementation plan, and the way that we are kind of setting it up is we're breaking it up into like what is the basic goal in each year and listing them out as tasks, and then each task, or like, so you could have a category that's I don't know, whatever the category you have it broken into categories, and then we have what is the target, so like defining like what it is, and then the purpose, and then like when it's recommended to be implemented. And Carol, I can send this to you.
Okay.
I just think sometimes when you have something like this, it's like, oh, the purpose. I just want to know the purpose. I'll just read that, and then it might
Right.
pull someone in to read a little bit more. That's just the way that I think about things. But if the committee recommends something different, you know.
No, I think that sounds great. And then the other thing is, it reminded me of the strategic plan, where they mentioned the comp plan elements that it hits. And so we have like commonalities, like some of these things could go into two different, you know, like sort of education awareness, outreach kind of thing, signage or whatever that is.
Sure,
We
they
could list the
could.
things that it
Mhm.
hits, you know,
Mhm.
this way the duplicity is more like it's not duplicity anymore, it's.
Right.
But I think it's great. I just couldn't even, you know, it's going to be a more difficult. This is the most difficult thing, I think.
And I don't think that it should be, our recommendations should be an appendix.
Mhm.
Right now in the plan, you have them as the last chapter.
Uh-huh.
And the whole idea of the plan is, what are you gonna do?
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And I
Yeah,
will
yeah,
say
yeah.
that is
I
one of the
agree.
main pieces of
Right.
like initial feedback I've gotten from staff is there, you know, all the information is really great on the background and it's
What
honestly
do
a lot of good
we-
work, but staff's like, well, what do you want me to do?
Right.
Yeah.
We already
Exactly.
know
Yeah.
what happened here.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that needs to be the last thing.
Right. Okay.
Before
okay.
the appendices.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. I just didn't know, because you know how we've done the land management plans in the past, we would have the strategic plan as an appendice, and that was kind of like what to do. That's the only reason why I kind of was thinking about that a little bit. But I agree, as a section, it probably is.
Okay.
It wraps up.
Yeah,
And again, the plan won't be approved until, you know, they think it's acceptable. And it, you know, would go in concert with the Keystone kind of report, and it should touch all of the things that came out of that, you know, those workshops, I think.
So, Bob, for short-term, long-term, would short-term, let me just throw this out, 1 to 3 year
Yep.
implementation, long-term, 3 to 5?
and,
Okay,
And what I
yeah,
would
that'd
say
be
is,
fine by me.
okay.
some of those recommendations will require more staff time. I would say that's a long term
Mhm.
to get it into the 5-year capital improvement.
Well,
Yep.
and to me, we are just the committee putting this forward. It's then
Mhm.
staff that's gonna
Mhm.
massage this into what is doable within the context of what, like,
Mhm.
budget items and
Mhm.
resources and things that we just don't know about.
Mhm.
The other thing I think that would be helpful is, and I think I already did it, but I think staff needs to make sure that, and the appendice that is the strategic plan, that I truly did get all the beach-related elements.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that would be helpful for you to see if some of our recommendations is actually hitting some of these strategic plans. I
Oh,
think.
okay.
You know,
Okay, I can look at that.
yeah,
I
this
have
way they're
access to
all
all of those.
integrated. But, yeah, I don't envy you, because this is the hardest one.
yeah,
But once you have the framework, then we can start, you know.
Correct, and if we've already
Teasing
got, let's say 75% of it, and it's a matter of, with staff's input and others, massaging things,
Mhm.
adding ones.
Right.
And I think it's gonna be important to recognize which ones are a cost, you know, have a real
Mhm.
cost to it, versus, you know,
Minor
soft,
changes, yeah.
soft stuff, you know.
Yeah.
and then to have
I
some
can't see
sort
anyone
of
that does.
feel for the level of
With
cost.
policy
I don't,
type
I'm not
stuff.
asking you to do that, but I'm
No,
saying.
I'm saying right now, I don't see any that aren't related
I
to.
mean, I think one was, increase, beach ranger presence.
That's
for
clearly a
personnel.
cost.
Yeah, that would be a huge cost.
Yeah.
That's a
Right,
whole other staff
right,
person.
Right. Well, what I did was I put the ones that I think had it was on this one, had like a big money element, like additional garbage receptacles, more frequent emptying, cigarette butt receptacles, like these things are cost, and then the ones that I don't have it on are things like better protection and restoration of dune vegetation. So if somebody's got a job anyway,
Mhm.
you're trying to make it more effective or whatever. So I tried to separate that out, and I'll look at that more, but maybe that's another thing we can all do, is maybe look at what Bob did, look at the Keystone Report, look at Carol's, and
Yeah.
try to get the hard, tangible costs versus soft education outreach, kind of things like that. And then also
I
there's a.
got yours, somehow.
I said it, I think. So I had used Bob's. Bob's came from Keystone.
Oh, yeah, I
and
know.
yeah.
I know, it's all, but they're all
Yeah.
a little bit different.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You can't just look at one, because there's a lot going on there. The other thing is where the city is putting burden on business, to kind of like, that's a separate, it doesn't cost us anything, but is it gonna happen? That kind of thing. It's gonna take somebody at least paying attention to see if they're actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what was making me think that maybe when we identify the businesses, we can start thinking about, how they had a downtown business
Group, yeah,
Yeah.
forum.
yeah.
Maybe there needs to be, and it wouldn't include Publix probably and Walgreens, they're gonna have to be treated different, but like the actual beach businesses, like the hotels, the restaurants, the franchises on Minutemen, have and all the franchises that put out, like Pier that put out, these are all, at least the city, once we see how many of the businesses, maybe we'll have a better feel for how much effort that would take for somebody to rally that
Mhm.
whole effort of getting people, businesses to do things.
Part of me is wondering with the businesses, rather than making a list of every single business's name, maybe it's categorizing them into, hotel,
How many
restaurant,
restaurants?
and then there's 42 hotels. I don't know the number, maybe it's something like that, and then come up with a recommendation on how to communicate or address that particular group.
Business
Right.
segment.
And maybe we should come up with categories and stick it on that GIS too, and we could see it. I mean, you have that, because that relates to the lighting too.
I can
Some of
easily
it.
do that with the lighting points we have to
Right.
identify if they're a
Right.
business or like a condo or a home, something like that.
I mean, just as another, what would you call it, feature in there, or layer, or whatever. But yeah, this is the thing that's gonna take us a while.
Here's a snide comment, what are we gonna do about Airbnbs?
Or whether they're on the beach or not,
Well, they're all beach related essentially, but in any
Yeah,
case,
I
yeah.
know. Well, I mean, the whole place is a beach, but.
I was hit. I didn't put that, but I was putting hotels, motels, short-term
Right,
condo
short-term
rentals,
rentals,
which
yeah.
is an Airbnb, but if
Yeah,
those are
yeah,
the short-term vacation rentals.
Yeah.
So if you were to go into Airbnb and look for one, you'd have this one big blob on the beach,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
okay, yeah.
everywhere. They were like,
I
I
know,
couldn't
I
even
know.
believe it the first time
I'm-
I went in there years ago and went,
I'm being-
wow.
I'm being simple and stupid, so
It's ridiculous how
Yeah.
many there are in condos.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Any case. But you're right, the short-term rentals are something that need to be
Mhm.
somehow picked up, and I don't know how you would go about
But
it.
it is a big blob all over the beach.
Yeah.
And
Whenever
then-
you have condos, you have Airbnbs.
Yeah, some of these recommendations might come from looking what other cities are doing.
Mhm.
So I know some people with Airbnbs, and I don't know if it's required here in Cocoa Beach, but in the Airbnb agreement it says, hey, if you have your lights on after this amount of time and it's
Yeah.
dark and
That's a
sea
great
turtle season,
recommendation.
then it's required, and then it's not the Airbnb owner's responsibility to pay that fine, would be that renter.
That's
Yeah.
good, that's a
If
really good
they're-
recommendation.
If they're,
But is that only enforceable if Cocoa Beach makes that an ordinance?
see, that's a really good question that
Mhm.
I don't know, and I think
Right.
yes.
Mhm.
Because that puts the teeth
I
in
bet you
it.
would be. Mhm.
Yeah, but I mean, that could be something, look at what another city did. If they passed a resolution that says that that's required, we could
Right.
look at that and just say, hey, this city did this, the committee would recommend that the commission consider adopting something similar to this.
Do you already know of one?
Off the top of my head, no, but I've heard of it happening.
Okay.
I can ask.
Yeah,
The Sea
these are
Turtle
all, you know,
Conservancy.
it takes time to research all this stuff. Somebody told me, I don't know whether they said Melbourne Beach or India Atlantic, but has an ordinance against, I mean, that is a Lori question. Maybe I'll ask Lori.
Well, I can ask her.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll dig around on this to see about other ordinances, because I
Mhm.
know I've heard of it.
Yeah, that went in, I think, prior to the legislation.
Yeah.
Home rule thing. So, I think that's all I have. Sorry, it's kind of a large board.
That'll keep us
I had
busy.
quite the month.
It'll keep
I
it'll
was
keep us
just gonna
busy.
say, a comment on the Airbnb, don't they, when they rent it, sign an agreement? And if they break it, the neighbor can call the cops.
That's something the city is working on at the moment, if I'm not
Is it?
mistaken.
Okay,
But
because
again,
I,
enforcement is so difficult.
Yeah.
yeah, because when they rent, they sign,
But usually that's between them and the Airbnb owner. The
Right.
only thing that's enforceable right now, thanks to the state of Florida, taking away local control,
Mhm.
is the noise ordinance.
Yep.
So they can sit there and do everything they want until, 11 p.m. And even then, you're having to call, yeah,
Yeah, it's just more burden on the staff.
Yeah.
Yep.
but,
Anyway, we probably had something. I think that train left the station.
Okay.
Okay, so.
All right.
Summarize, I guess, maybe?
All right.
I don't even
So-
think I can summarize that.
What are our assignments?
Well, I think Carol's knows what she's got for the, recommendation, and, you know, you got the first big serious one out, and that's why I kinda got my GQ rated, but, it's really good, you know?
Okay.
And I think with a chart type of thing would be great, and then for you, I guess, there's a lot.
Yeah, I have it
volunteer
marked down.
Workday, did we ever?
I think the folder one, if that's easy enough, would be great.
Yeah,
because then
that's
we
November
throw
4th, that's
photos
coming.
to the
Pardon?
folder.
That's November 4th that we're talking maritime
And it's
hammock.
in one spot,
Yes.
so it'd be easy.
Oh, we're coming to it?
And I can start working on putting together a PowerPoint, you know, of photos.
Basically, we need to, if we have photos, we need to get them to,
Kelsey's gonna make a folder.
Right.
Section within that other one.
Yes.
And send a link. I'm gonna email the full plan again after doing a couple little things you did. That won't be in the staff's
Yeah,
review, but that's
that's-
okay, and I already sent it out, but that's okay. And any more comments on the main, respond to that email, and then I'll send each appendice out and respond to that email.
okay.
This way it's not getting all cluttered together, and, I think that's it. you
Okay.
know.
Does somebody want to identify the businesses and categories? Is
Right.
that something you guys want to do?
That's,
well, if you're gonna do it in categories,
yeah. And categories or tiers or whatever you want to call it, yeah. that's-
How about I send out an email for categories for that business thing as a separate one, and you guys, whatever you think, you know, you can
Okay.
respond and bounce back some feedback.
because there's only restaurants/bars,
Mhm.
hotel,
Hotels.
motel, short-term vacation
Sure.
rentals,
Mhm.
beach equipment rentals, and beach-focused retail.
Or how about some of the beach-focused recreation, like the
Do you
surf
wanna-
schools, there are 2 or 3 surf schools.
Do you wanna send that out, Carol, instead?
Okay.
And this way, if we think of anything else, we can add to that list.
And then with that list, did you guys want to identify the number of businesses that fall into each category that affect the beach?
Beach weddings.
Retail?
There's a lot, I think we're gonna find that there's.
Yeah, but then
You're gonna get the list of the, who has
There's a lot of
use
beach
agreements with
weddings.
each.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I
Okay.
can get that.
But there are a
I'll
couple
check it in.
firms that do.
That's a building department, right? Just-
Pardon?
Yeah.
There are a couple companies that do beach weddings, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want me to ask some of these, you
do
know.
they have
If it's like a thing I have to ask staff for, I can
Okay.
do
There's
that.
no way you can.
Yeah. Or like
Do
the
they get a
town
permit,
meeting,
do they,
that's
are they
fine.
permitted by the city? I don't know. I have no idea. Do they rise to a
Paula
level of
may have
business that would
retired.
have to have a county business permit?
Paula
or
may have retired.
city
No,
business?
I just-
She hasn't
There's no-
retired yet?
Not yet, but the
Okay.
end of-
Chasing
I
after
think
the
the end of
minutia.
December.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Hard
knew it
to-
was coming soon.
And then there are the
That's why I
rentals that,
sent it out.
rent bikes, rent,
That I put beach
yeah,
equipment rentals.
yeah, okay.
But I think we might, once we see this use agreement too, for all the people who have gotten agreements with the city for use of the beach, there might be something thrown in there that we don't
Yeah.
even think about.
Well, what I was just asking Bob, if I am a wedding planner and I have, I have somebody booked for a wedding on the beach, is that a permit?
I think you do have to have a permit
Yeah,
for a
I
wedding.
think so,
Okay.
and I think
Special event.
there's that truck that's always parked in that one spot because it's like a vendor, like they have all their stuff in there to
Yeah, at
take
Shepherd
out.
Park.
Okay.
Is it Shepherd Park?
There's a few permitted locations like that.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
Surf school,
Yeah.
School is, yeah, surf
are
club.
they permitted?
I believe they are. I think they have their own designated spot that they have to be in. So
Okay.
And
But
they're
I'm not
a
100% sure.
resource.
We'll figure it
I
out.
forgot about that, but that sounds like another resource. It might be only certain times
What's
of the
that?
year, the surf schools, because, we can
No,
we can
they-
get their name out and they can maybe help with certain things, like Finnish Expedition helps us with trash batches. There might be some things we can come up with like that.
Yeah, well, I
Takes
know
the
Ron-
burden off the city.
I know there's Ron Johns has one that works out of Shepherd, and.
Oh, yeah, there's tons of them.
And there's the other one at
The
what, Third or
church.
Fourth Street North that has a surf school.
Right.
Um,
And they, I think, will be good advertisements for us, like that's a great business,
Mhm.
teaching kids how to surf and, it's giving back to community kind of thing, so I think they're like a business that won't be like, oh, you're putting all of this stuff on us, we're not gonna ask a lot of them, but they'll like Surf Rider, they can be our mouths,
Mhm.
And also eyes and ears on the beach, during that time, and that's a busy time anyway, spring break, summer.
Yeah.
And there's also things like, that's probably getting too ridiculous, of places like, surf shops. Obviously that's a beach touch too,
Well, I
Little
call
ones.
that beach focused
related,
retail.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the Ron Johns and Cocoa Beach Surf
Everything
Company.
from
There's so many
beach
little
waves
ones,
to
right?
bikini
Yeah,
store.
yeah.
Right.
Half a dozen others along that.
Like on Min Causeway, Roy's shop, I can't remember what it's called, but,
Quiet flight.
no, the one that's right on Beach Wave, next door to, Tropics. I can't remember their name, Ocean Water Sports.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay. But
Okay.
anyway.
yeah. You could-
Okay, well, yeah, this is the wild one, it's kinda like I think it's gonna be hard to tame a little bit.
Okay,
So I think we know what we,
okay. Well, basically, when you ride up and down A1A, look out the window and see what you see that, might be a beach-related business. And again, there's probably several tiers of them, so.
and I did send you that one, I saw, I think it in Facebook. It was a church with a really bright light on.
Was on the survey.
That people,
Yes.
Right, okay. That
Yes, it's
people
on there.
actually took, a picture from the beach and
Oh.
the church is all lit up and, put it on Facebook, so. Also, I was like, oh, that's
Yep.
relevant.
Okay,
So the second thing I will do is send you an email with the first stab at business categories.
Okay.
Mm.
Mhm.
very good. All right, I think we've got that beaten to death.
It deserves.
It's
to-
not dead
it
yet,
deserves to
so.
be beat to death.
I still say if there was a way that people make a deposit on something,
Yeah, Joni, I think.
then when it's taken care of, you get your deposit back.
Again, that takes staff time. It's
Yeah.
one of those things, it's,
Yep,
we want to, at least we need to know when we're taking staff time.
if you could do it electronically.
It's being,
Yeah,
it's being
I
counted,
did,
being
but
counted.
there must, it's just like Oregon, they put deposit on cans.
Sure, and several other
you
states.
never saw cans laying around.
Yeah.
So
So-
Oregon, there was a supermarket I went to, I took a picture of it, you know how, it says like 5 items or less? it says like about 10 items.
Oh.
It's like, okay, I think I have about 10 items.
Any case, all right. Okay, well, I guess we've covered that. I don't see that we have any public to comment tonight, but let's move on to member announcements. I've got a couple here. Actually, some of you may be well aware that we have bioluminescence in the lagoon right here.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And MRC is doing a brown bag type thing on November 1st at noon. You can
It's
either
gonna be a goodie.
either be in person at Lagoon House in Palm Bay, or they're going to do a Zoom meeting as well. And that is somebody rather from the University of Maryland who has also worked at Harbor Branch on pyridinium, and she will be having a presentation
Yeah, and it is
on
it's
the
a
first.
beautiful, phenomena that happens, but it is a toxic chemical,
Right,
so.
right, because it does have saxitoxin
Mhm.
associated with it.
Yeah, people jump in and swim in it.
Okay.
But it's naturally occurring.
Yeah, well, it is, but we did not have pyridinium, at least it was not in the bloom type condition here prior to about 2000.
The stronger it is, the more it is,
Yeah.
the pollution is an indicator.
So again, it's something that's more. There was bioluminescence, but it wasn't to the state that we see it here now.
Okay.
And so, any case,
And it's interesting because there's a place in Puerto Rico on the east side that's
Yep.
very strong, but it doesn't have the saxitoxin.
yep, exactly.
That's really interesting.
Okay. Beach buckets. Kelsey put the beach buckets away for the hurricane, and L1 actually came back. And
Yeah,
I'll
it reappeared.
But I'll pass this down to you. This is this morning's, and we're missing several even after you've restored them. So, any case, I'll pass that along to you.
Fisher Park's going strong. All those are there.
Yeah, all those are
Right?
good.
Fisher Park's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's Shepherd that they tend to disappear from.
So Bob, on the Beach Bucket note, the Beach Bucket Foundation approached the city and asked to install stations with funding from the surfing preservation, the license plate, the surfing license plate, between 3rd
Pass that
Street South and 15th Street South, so that might be happening.
Okay.
So
Did the Surfing Evolution already say,
I believe that the funds are
because it's
there.
Yeah, good.
I believe they're there. I'm under the assumption that they're there.
Yeah, no, that's good.
They just need
Where
permission.
are these located?
It might be happening.
This is at Fisher Park, and
Okay.
those two are at Shepherd.
Anita, okay.
Yeah, just pass that on to
Oh, I'm sorry.
Kelsey. That's this morning, of course. There could have been one or two missing that are actually out on the beach, but it's, yeah, whatever. Any
Think
case.
positive.
They're getting used
Yes.
somehow. Let's see what else I've got. Okay, and also, as you saw, I looked at the bat houses, and I sent a note to Eels, and I kind of got a response saying, "Well, geez, okay, we'll be glad to take them down and get rid of them." And I
That
sent
was
something
sad,
back. I
those
sent that back to
pictures.
I sent that back to Dave and said, "Hey, wait a minute. Let's see if we can find somebody who wants to restore them." And Kelsey, I know you had
Eagle Sounds.
you
Eagle
had an
Scout.
Eagle Scout in mind, and
I
you had.
connected the Eagle Scouts with Dave, and they've been exchanging emails.
Oh, good.
So hopefully that
Okay,
works out.
yeah, and if they need a guide to show them where they're at, I'll be glad to work with them on that. So.
Okay, I'll volunteer you.
Yeah, jeez. I'll show them, they can deal with them. Yeah, the one on West Crawford, which reminds me that Crawford, the islands are named Crawford after the people that they were bought from, is kind of difficult to get to, because you remember that there were actually two pathways to get in there, Joni, as you may recall. They're both overgrown with red propodules that.
And the other thing I noticed that I had never seen on the islands before, and it was only in one area, was the scavola, that invasive scavola. I'd never seen that on an island before, and when we were paddling and we stopped at a couple of different places, scavola's out there. Somebody planted it. I don't
Yeah.
think that was from a bird.
Yeah, probably.
I
yeah.
think somebody's like decorating the islands.
Right.
And West Crawford, and I'll say this, Eels has not been there in a while. There's pines that are 30 feet tall,
And carrot wood.
carrot wood, there's all kinds of other stuff.
Mhm.
So, any case. Let's see, oh yeah, what else? Oh yeah, one thing too, we got the Eels referendum coming
I
up.
was just
so
thinking of that.
Don't forget about
So
that.
why don't you say more about that since so many people are watching on the air?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, this will renew the EELS program. Their funding is going to run out, I believe, in another couple years. And this will renew their program for, I think they're looking at 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. So, and again, EELS has benefited us from dealing with the Thousand Islands, but there are numerous other properties in Brevard County and still more to be acquired. That,
And it's way, way down on the ballot.
yeah.
Past a bunch of judges, so
Yeah.
it's really a difficult.
Flip it
kind of
over,
thing.
go to the back side, on the
All the
bottom
way
of the
down.
back side, yeah.
Yep.
Any case. Let's see what else I've got here. Okay. And one of these days, and I think we've talked about this before, is that I rode down Minuteman the other day, and when the peppers we treated on the west side we're doing pretty well there. There's some that have come back, but we need to do the east side one of these days again. So sometime, maybe this winter.
Yeah, dry season.
The south side?
Yeah, the south side. Yeah, we did the north side, but we need to, probably do a little bit of cleanup on the north side. There are a few peppers that have come back. It's not terrible, but 2 or 3 years later, yeah, they're back. But the south side, we need
You never know
to
where they'll
go.
pop up.
We need to complete that.
And on that note, I would say that Mansfield Trail, I guess it's called, Mansfield Hammock.
Okay.
So they honored
Phyllis.
Mansfield, Phyllis and Howard at Lori Wilson Park, and it was really, really a nice little celebration thing. And that's the other thing I meant to say, but Phyllis, would spend years, hours, and there were no invasive plants on Inland Causeway for decades because of Phyllis. Now, little park on the north side is named after her. But she's going strong. She's just amazing. She talked for about 20 minutes there, and it was just so funny. It was hilarious. And one of the things she said is, she every day she wakes up and she said, "Well, guess I'm going to be on the planet one more day." She's really amazing. And so I sent her a text, and I asked if maybe we could meet in November, like mid-November or something. I'll try to get Diane Stees and anybody else that, of course we'd have to notice it if it's the full committee, but which would be easy. But I'll try to get maybe a few other people, maybe somebody from the Native Plant Society, kind of Dina, to join us too. Because there's a lot of the plants out there that I just don't know. They're not we never bought them. They're just kind of, I guess they can say, we look at them, we don't know if they're invasive weeds or native weeds. I mean, we just don't know.
Yeah.
So I've taken a bunch of pictures.
What's happening is there's cross-pollination.
Could be, I just don't know, and they're seasonal.
And
so they'll
that's happening.
they'll put a seed pod out that makes it look totally different in a season that is on a different season. You wouldn't even notice.
Right. And you're talking about going through through Lori Wilson Hammock and looking at this?
I'm
or?
talking about the maritime hammock.
Oh, Maritime Hammock, okay.
Yep. So to actually try to get some of those
Yep.
plants identified.
Yep.
Because we talked about a list, which I think will be very difficult, but to actually get all of them, all of the plants. But you never
Oh, yeah.
know. Maybe Kim Zarillo could join us, and we'll see.
Okay.
I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah. But these are
Oh,
ones
yeah,
that
we're
are,
good.
but these
Come
are not
on
your
now.
normal
I've been
ones.
native plant for years.
But
Any
these
case.
these are ones that are really not easy. I don't know
Why?
what they are because
There's only so
you can't
many.
find them in a nursery. I mean, they just
No, you
show
can't
up.
find these in the nursery. If you I went on the native plant nursery tour, and it was really interesting. And I saw plants that I knew. I know a lot of them, and then I know them, but I don't know the name. But I'm pretty good.
Right.
Not
No.
that I'm bragging or anything.
No,
I've been
no.
at it for years.
And these are ones that they just come and go again seasonally. They just kind of
Yeah.
Seasonal.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean
these are
they
ones that are
disappear
not-
in fall?
Well, these are not the stoppers and they're just little.
Oh, are they flowers or shrubs?
Some of them are flowers, some of them are grasses, some of them
And
are.
the grasses, yeah, they're.
Well, we'll test your knowledge when we go
Yeah,
out
there
there
we
and do
go.
the
That's
survey. We'll test your knowledge.
Okay.
Well, you know, there's books too.
Yeah, but I don't even know if these are in books.
I don't know.
They're-
We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. they're
Well,
just
it was fun and it was interesting, but what's interesting is I went back to one, like, I went when they were starting out and, 10, 15 years ago. Now I went back to the same place and I think they overplanted because there's too much shade and a lot of things aren't doing well.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's another thing where they pop up seasonally, like sometimes the sun is in a different, so they have different shade and sun. So they'll show up in a certain season, then not show up in another season,
Yeah.
so. They're tricky ones, even if I do an app, it won't, it's like.
Sure, they're not
it
weeds?
is. Oh, yeah, they are weeds, I guess the
Oh,
weed
they're
is very
weeds,
subjectional.
okay.
Right.
But
Oh,
they
I thought a
could be
weed
native,
bug
they
too,
could be
you know.
native weeds.
Right.
Which would be
Okay,
nice.
my problem is I can see the picture in the book and say, oh yeah, that's what it is, but I can't remember what the stupid thing, the name of the damn
The
thing
name,
is.
that's the
Name
thing,
of
that's
the
the
damn
side.
thing.
And a lot of the ones that we were talking about, they're pollinators. Whether they're native or invasive or whatever, they're definitely pollinators, because there's bugs all, things
Well, if
flying
they're
around them.
blooming, yes,
Yeah, so they're good, and the smaller the flower, the better the pollinator, so.
All right,
Oh, there's
folks.
so many of them.
I think we can wrap it up, and we have another meeting on November 14th, and of course, we have the field day at Maritime Hammock on the 4th. We'll
Oh,
go
I
over
was gonna
that.
mention one more thing.
Yep,
Thursday and Friday, the Marine Resources Council, MRC, is having a low impact development conference,
That's
the
true.
second one. And this one is for, local government staff.
right.
You're gonna
And
send an
organizations.
email out on the Workday
I'm sure Kelsey will, I'm sure, for the Workday. Send
at
an
the
email.
Hammock?
Do what about it? Send a reminder?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
please,
Yeah.
thank
Yep.
you.
It'll probably be a Facebook event.
Yes, there will be lots of things. We'll get it out tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think we're adjourned, thank you, folks.
All right.